Hey and welcome to the Simply Create Business Podcast. The episodes focus on businesses in the Essex to East London area, bringing you their story, their journey and a great insight into local businesses. In each episode, we explore where it all started, where they are now and what's next. Yes, this is episode 2 of season 2 and we're really excited to introduce James and Keith from Essex Recording Studios. We hope you enjoy it. You know what time it is. Straight in with Quickfire Questions. Let's get into it. We're going to dive in straight away with Quickfire Questions. Now, how this is going to work, I'll ask you and then I'll ask you and we'll go back and forward. And then when we get to the open questions, maybe if you take it in turns or jump in and it'll kind of go cool. So, first of all, are Jaffa cakes a biscuit or a cake?
I think they're a cake.
I'm going with cake.
Okay. A takeaway or a restaurant?
Restaurant.
Restaurant.
Instagram or Snapchat?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Coffee.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
PC.
Autumn or spring?
Autumn.
Spring. I got the jet ski.
Music while you work or silence?
Music.
Music.
I thought you might have said that one. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly.
Ooh, invisibility.
What is your least favourite chore?
All of them.
Your least favourite? We know you don't like it.
Hoovering.
Hoovering.
Laundry.
And one thing you would definitely take to a desert island?
MacBook.
Oh, man. I'm going to take James's MacBook.
Okay.
You're stuck.
Yeah. He's got it now. And what either or type kind of question do you think I should ask other people in the future?
Oh, that's a good one.
What's a quick fire question?
Yeah, so one of those, but what do you think I should ask other guests in the future?
Oh, Jaffa cake.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Ask them that one.
Yeah,
So you want to see more responses. Or a brand new one.
Or a brand new one. Morning person or night owl?
Okay, nice. Good one. Okay, so first of all, it's in the beginning. So we're basically going back to how you got into it, what you do, how you two met, and your journey kind of so far. So tell anybody who's listened to this podcast, where it all started and how you got to this point in time.
Well, I suppose with me, started off playing in a band when I was a kid. Went through, I was fortunate, my dad opened up a small recording studio rehearsal space and I cut my teeth there. Went on playing in bands, band broke up, went into other studios and then opened up a studio. And then going through, we ended up a studio in Colchester. I ended up working with a singer-songwriter and that's where Keith and I met up. And what happened was I was in a point where I was like, I'm not sure where I want to go, whether I want to go and work at a studio just as an employee or continue on being a studio owner and progressing. Keith, I think, was at the same point thinking, I want to try something else. And then we fused together and that's kind of how, in a real short way, how we got together. You could jump in.
Yeah. So my background was when I was in high school, I played guitar. I played all the metal, shreddy stuff, hours and hours and hours a day. And then I had a choice to either continue with a music career or play it safe and go to university and get into the workforce. So I actually went in the military. I did something totally different.
Okay.
And I went in the Air Force in America right when we invaded Iraq. And then after the Air Force, I went in the Army. And after the Army, I became a motor trader, a car dealer. So I went all over the place, far, far, far away from music. But it was always there. It was always a part of me. And, I would always go to gigs every chance I had. And I'd buy some guitars, never played them, but kept buying them, kept music close to me. Mm-hmm. And so when I came over here to the UK, continued to be a motor trader and kind of fell out of love with that. Met a musician who had never recorded before professionally, and we were looking for somewhere to record in Essex. And we would call and we would email and nobody would even answer the phone. It was tough. And we always the person knew about James. He had a great reputation, and we knew he was really busy. So we tried to get in touch with him, and I think we tried once and there was some back and forth a little bit, and then a few months went by, and finally I said, we just got to get something done here. We got to pick someone, we got to go with it, and we just got to make it happen. And we got back in touch with James, and the schedules lined up. It was great. We were in the studio. I was blown away with James's attention to detail and how much he cared. Because a lot of studios are like hotels, and you come in, you're renting time, they hit record, and they tell you to get lost when you're done. You know, time's up. Wasn't the case with James. And he took something that was here and elevated it way up here. And you don't have to take my word for it, because 2 weeks later, this single, just one song that we were doing, that was on BBC Introducing.
Mm-hmm.
And then a week after that, it was on a national radio station. It was on Chris Country. And a week or two after that, it was on Radio 2 with Bob Harris. Holy smokes. This is an unsigned artist, never recorded professionally in their life. And I attribute this great songwriting too, but man, James really carried the torch on that one and led the charge. And after that project, I sat back and said, you know, I'm not really into the Cars anymore. And James was doing so much on his own that he really needed a partner, and we got along really well. So we just said, let's join forces, and we started Essex Recording Studios March 2017, and it's been true love ever since.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the journey.
Taken
Sounds
up two
that's
places.
Great
Yeah.
work. Yeah. It's great. Well, a bit of a throwback. What was your first band called?
Synergy.
Synergy. Nice.
And then it was Downfall.
Did you have a first band?
I did, and we just covered Metallica songs. We didn't.
Okay.
I don't even think we had a name.
No.
I was going to say, do you have favourite bands as well? Is that a thing? Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you're like one of these
Red
people
Hot
that's
Chili
just like
Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah,
Through and through.
Metallica and Pantera.
There we go. I don't. You know, sometimes people just don't have it because they are so in it that they love loads.
Everything.
Yeah. But no, you.
I think I've had the same chili belt since I was 15.
You got the belt, you got the hat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea? I know obviously this is how you kind of met, which was nice. How did you come up with the idea to say, right, we're going to do this that you're doing now? So was it after lots of discussions, or is it a natural progression? Or
I think it was quite natural. I mean, I've only ever done one thing in my life, and that's worked in music. I've worked at a school, and you've got to do these things to cover the bills. But for me, if I say to someone, like, literally since I was in junior school, I played in a band, and up until now I've always been in music. So for me, that's all I was ever going to do. But being a musician doesn't mean that you're business savvy. I was very good at getting a band to come in and going, okay, right, this is the price. And then when they leave out, I'm paying. They leave the room, I'm paying them to come to me, because I think all musicians are they hate talking about money. Mm-hmm. We always like, you'll wait until the end of the day, and then just as you're leaving, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. So I knew that for me to progress, and for, a company to progress, it needed somebody that had good experience with money, doesn't mind doing like the hard talk and this and it, but also being a cool guy, because I think being a great hang is super important, especially in this atmosphere. You've come here. I've worked at other studios where it's very clinical. You feel like you need to wear a tie or whatnot, and having a place that you can kick back, throw your shoes off, go and sit in the hot tub, do whatever. That was super important. So to find somebody that has that ethos as well is massively important, but at the same time not so laid back that they're going to fall over. So Keith and I started chatting, and I talked to Keith about certain things and like just trying to get some ideas, and he'd turn around and be like, well, dude, you're not going to survive doing that. And we spoke about this on a boat once when we went out with some buddies, and it was totally right. It was a hard truth, but it was the truth, because you know you don't pay your mortgage with goodwill, do you?
No. Hugs and kisses don't pay me. Yeah.
No, they really don't. And so obviously then Keith and I started chatting, and then we pretty much decided, like, if we're going to do it, we'll just do it. And I don't think we had weeks of chatting. It was like,
no, I'm a very
decisive
person, and I knew it was what I wanted to do. You know, that's where my soul was at, for sure. And I think we just jived so well. We didn't butt heads. I can't even think of a time where we've really butted heads.
no.
You know, so that's real lucky, because I mean, most partnerships in life end, whether it's a marriage or like the majority end.
Yeah.
And generally you can see the cracks and the faults from the very beginning that led to that point. And we have a wonderful working relationship. We live really close to each other, like a mile away.
Yeah.
We see each other every day. I mean, he's got the key. I live here. He's got the keys to the house. I trust him totally and wholly, and that is completely important and like necessary for a serious business relationship. If you wouldn't give them the keys to your house, you shouldn't be doing business with them. And one thing we could touch on is the name, how we came up with the name, because that was one thing we did butt heads on. And I don't blame you, because I totally see where you're coming from. But yeah, so we're Essex Recording Studios. Not the sexiest name.
No, I wanted to be like Blackwater or, you know, Pirate Patch.
And people from Essex don't really big up themselves. They think of Essex as like, you know, Towie and the TV show and everything.
Well, that's why.
Are a little bit like, they're like embarrassed about it. And I love Essex.
I was the same.
Yeah, I love Essex. I came from London my first year and moved out here, and I'm like, this is great. But more importantly is, how do people discover you? And I'm big on internet marketing, and I wanted us to dominate internet discovery. When people go into Google, I want us showing up #1. And in the music business, word of mouth is really important. So you're going to get those clients anyway. People that have worked with you and they tell someone else about you, your name's irrelevant. You know, you're going off reputation. But for people that don't know you exist and have never heard of you, how are they going to discover us? And where are they going to come from? Well, you know, there's recording studios all over the country. So the majority of clients that have never heard of us but would be working with us are probably going to come from Essex. So what would someone from Essex type in Google if they were looking for a local recording studio? You know, they're not going to type local recording studio because Google doesn't know where you are. They're going to type Essex Recording Studios, thus the name. James had a name before for his prior studio that was +11 Recording. And, you know, there's a lot of things going all the way back to, like, this is Spinal Tap, turn it up to 11.
Yeah, that's where it came from,
And, you know, there's other studios that are named after microphones in the local area or drum machines, but not necessarily intuitive to someone, you know.
Would be searching.
If you heard +11, would you know that's a recording studio? Not necessarily. So I came in with a business sense of things and took all the sex appeal out of our name. But I would say, you know, we're here 2 years into it now. I think it's worked quite well. And a lot of people find us. I mean, even you probably wouldn't have found us if we had a different name.
Pretty much the same way. So I did a search through Essex, and I've been looking through businesses through Essex the whole time. So
validation feels good, James. Wow.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. Maybe
I'm with No, that's great. No, that's great. And actually, I'm more probably in your space in the fact of with the whole artistic and money thing and having a business savvy sense on the other side. I think it's often something that people need to be, again, look in the mirror and go, yeah, I kind of need someone who's going to help me or push me in that area.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, whether it's a band, like if you're in a band, you know, you have a record label, and that record label they can love your music as much as possible, but, you know, there are bills to be paid, and it's they're going to make you money, hopefully, you know, and lots of studios open up all the time. Like if you go on Facebook, you know, somebody might have come out of university, of course, open up a studio. It's quite cheap to do now with the technology. But then things happen, and it's same with bands. And I always, you know, try and have this chat with bands. And this is what happens. You come out of university, these people set up a studio. So, oh, it's great, you know, they've maybe got a Saturday job or whatnot. Then they get a girlfriend. Then they move out with the girlfriend. Then they have rent. Now the studio's not making money, but it will make money eventually. You know, this is my story. It's basically what I'd say to my wife. And then it goes on. And then you have to make a choice, don't you? You have to say, well, I'm just going to do it in my bedroom, or I'm going to be in a covers band. Or if I want to progress and actually make this like work, I need to make some money. And it is a tough thing to do, you know, especially when you do come from that artistic sort of headspace. But that's why a lot of studios and small companies, whether it's being a painter or a wood carver, shut down. Mm-hmm. Because it gets to that crux where I need to pay a mortgage, I've got a kid, I'm just going to have to get a 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. And then one thing I never wanted it to be was you know, when I was younger, I used to have a record. I never wanted to be that sort of throwback guy. You know, it's got to be, it's my career, and it is something I do. So yeah, it's been, the partnership's totally worked 100%. You know, I've learned things, Keith has learned things. And the other great thing is we are opposite in the way we think with a lot of things. But the thing that joins it together is the love of music at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But being opposite is good. Because if everyone's a yes man, then you get nowhere.
And there's no, if you're all the same, then you're coming up with the same thing or the same. Makes sense. Makes sense. So tell everybody, we've talked about social media a bit and finding you. Obviously, you've given out your name, but tell people where's best to find you, where do you want them to find you. It's definitely a chance to advertise.
So I mean, we have our website, mm-hmm. EssexRecordingStudios.com. Then we have our Facebook at Essex Recording Studios, and our Instagram at Essex Recording Studios, and Twitter is at Essex Recording, because they wouldn't give us enough characters for the studios. It's so annoying, irritating. But if you type in Essex Recording Studios, you'll see the whole thing. And our YouTube channel is huge, actually.
Cool.
You know, this podcast is just starting out. Same thing for us on our YouTube channel. We started with 0 subscribers. Every video we're saying, subscribe. You know, follow us on Facebook, mm-hmm. follow us on Twitter. And it really, really works. It's slow and go for your first year, but now we're at a point, I think we started getting serious about it in around June. And now we've got 2,000 unique viewers a day.
Amazing.
We've got 2,000 subscribers.
That's right.
And over 500,000 views. And it's just exponential, so it's great.
Great. Well done to that. Obviously I'll put all the links in the notes for this anyway. But
cool.
I definitely love that, giving everybody a chance to plug away. Really. So now we're talking about the present, and there's a couple of questions in here that are themed towards what Simply Create is about. So between you, obviously, how do you or have you interacted and engaged with your local community through your business?
Well, Calm Festival.
Yeah, we've got a festival coming up on, I think, the 20th, supporting a mental health charity.
Great.
And we're bringing out the PA and microphones and all the equipment to make that happen.
Nice.
We've worked with, we've got 2 students. We've had one last summer. We've got another one that actually called up, but didn't inform me about that. But we work with people needing work experience for school. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important as far as how do you get the next generation of producers and engineers and business owners. We live in this era now where you try to apply for a job and they say, oh, well, you need experience. Mm-hmm. You know, how do I get the experience?
Yeah, if you won't give me the job.
Right, if you won't give me the damn job. So, we worked with a girl named Chloe last summer. It was great. She came in for a week. We've got another guy who's 15 who wants to come in for a few days in June. And that's something that we can do for the schools, for the students, and help just give a little bit of guidance and direction for the youth that, I mean, they call everybody and everyone says no. And I know how that feels. And I like us to be the good guys that give a yes.
Yeah, great. And what do you think that your local community could do more to support you as a business or business, or it doesn't have to be you particularly, but businesses in general?
It's not how they would support us. like directly, but indirectly it would be by supporting the local music scene. So when I was younger, my dad had a studio. It's called Stamford Sound Studios. Again, Stamford Sound Studios, weird. It's because we was in Stamford. Anyway, we set up a club called Moonies. Now Moonies, great name, was awesome. We would put in 300 to 400 people a week, and that was under 18s. But what happened was we created a scene, and all the local bands, the way we worked out how this worked was is we would book a local band from the college. As soon as that happened, gosh, it was busy. But the nightlife for local bands in Chelmsford is tough. Like, we used to have the Box. So the Box was, I think it's been torn down now. That was in Chelmsford. That was a cool crack. You know, kids would go there and go and watch bands. Then you had the YMCA. I don't know if they still run a live night. Then you had, I think it was called Bar House, which is now the Basement. So that's cool. That's like the one main music centre for live bands. Would
Yeah,
you
the
say?
Fleece, right?
The Fleece, yeah, the Fleece does more
like
covers. I think
more covers,
they do,
yeah.
but like there's the music scene in Chelmsford is kind of going like this. I mean, you've got the Basement, which is great.
And then there's
but,
the Bowl in Colchester.
But then you're in Colchester, but there's nothing for that under 18s bracket.
Yeah.
Now there is a venue that's opened up, and it might be called The Venue. I forget. It's it is in Chelmsford that's opened up, and hopefully they're going to help them by promoting. Because if we have bands that are playing and mainly get paid for it, because here's the thing, I played in bands and bands never got paid. So if a band doesn't get paid, again, that whole story I said about like a band's trying to progress, they get girlfriends, blah, 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 then they end up splitting up because it's just no longer financially
There's no
viable.
incentive.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I feel they're working. Doesn't matter if they're doing like, you know, they're not great. They're working. Bands should be getting paid. So does that mean that there should be an arts subsidy to these venues that will put some money in their back pockets, which allows those bands to go and get a Saturday job to progress their career? And equally, that goes into the schools, doesn't it? It's proven that like people who are in music normally do better in all their other subjects because it's this creative outflow. How does that help us? Well, the bands now have obviously got some money. Now they want to progress. They come to studios like ourselves, where, you know, we produce them, we develop them, because we're big into developing acts. But it's hard to do that when a band is going out maybe 4 times a week, spending £40 on petrol, or mum and dad are spending.
Of course, yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
for me, I think that would be a great way of doing it, and it gives people an incentive to make music.
It's self-fulfilling as well, right? Because essentially you grow a band that's from your area, essentially they do pretty well, other people hear about it and want to be in a band again, and so that follows the whole you know, kind of cycle of keeping people coming up. If nothing's coming out of the area essentially, or that they know about necessarily, then you know, the interest might die away. And like you said, if you haven't got a venue to go to, you can't experience that life feel atmosphere. No, it makes sense. That's a good one. I think one of the better answers. People kind of shy away from it sometimes just because they don't, obviously it's being recorded, so they don't know necessarily how they what they want to say to their community. But I think that's a really, really good thing, and you know, invest in the youth, and it will kind of bring.
I think a big issue too is that people are more distracted than ever in life. So we all have flat screen TVs in our house, which is like amazing. Imagine as a kid having a flat screen TV, and an Xbox and a PlayStation, and we've got Netflix now, so you can watch any TV show from like around the entire world at will. You don't have to get back home at 8 o'clock so that your favorite show comes on. And I think that kills a lot of this motivation for people to leave the home and go participate with your community and support your community. And that's something that that's a tough nut to crack, you know. Definitely. And that is the new hurdle that any entertainer that wants to cater to a live audience locally has to overcome. And with that, you got to be good, and you've got to be creative, and you've got to be different. You got to set yourself apart from everything else, because it is tough to get those people away from their phones. It's tough in the audience.
Oh, God, yeah.
If they do show up, it's tough to get them away from those distractions. So, yeah.
And you touched on, which is nice, because the next question is about creativity. And I suppose obviously I interview different types of businesses, but one of the big things that I'm big on is creativity in the workplace, no matter where it is. So what are your thoughts on how important creativity is, obviously for your industry, but for people in general, I suppose?
Yeah, so the question, obviously, how important? Of course, it's super important, but it's how you allow that creativity to happen. So, you can walk in somewhere and they could be like, oh, we're a creative place, blah, 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 blah. And then every time somebody brings up an idea, people might poo-poo it, or they feel that their experience is better than theirs or whatnot. I think, especially in here, the way creativity flows is there's no argument. There's always, it's way quicker. Like if you've got an idea, let's try the idea. Just do it. I mean, the song is 3 minutes long. We can argue for 6, 7, 8, 30 minutes. We could, we'll go out and have a coffee and argue about it. But I think it's about having so everybody has to feel totally confident and not shy away from, saying what their idea is. And our job is to make people feel totally safe and feel that they could say whatever they want, even if it is stupid. Let's try it out. Again, 3 minutes. And I think just being totally open as well, and not browbeating. And I know when I was in a band, we went to a studio in Northampton, great place, but we were very much treated as a kid band, and we had ideas. We wanted to, it was a big live room, and we wanted to sing at the top of there was a balcony and all these things, and the guy would just go, no, and then in the end everyone sits there sort of shut up, and then can't wait to leave. And I don't want that experience to
Definitely.
be here. It is creative, and we are doing art, audio, but it is, it's just having that ability to be free. And and
I think that is no matter big or small company, it's about the culture you set up when people are in your environment, right? That there is a freedom to say whatever, and like you said, even if it ends up being silly or didn't quite work, you laugh it off and crack on with the next one. But giving it a try, or letting them know that opinion is valid, or that insight is valid. So
there's one thing I want to touch on that too, is that we actually thought about this very subject when we were setting up our business model, and how do we want to go about being different than everyone else as a recording studio. And if I go to you and I say, all right, you have 1 hour, be creative. Whoa, instantly there's this wall of pressure that's just dropped on you, and it's tough. And when people go to recording studios, they book time in advance, and that's the time. If there's traffic and they're late, even more pressure. If they're sick, even more pressure. If their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them, even more pressure. And all of these things mount and mount and mount. So what we talked about when we said we didn't want to do is, we didn't want to do hourly rates, and we really didn't even want to do daily rates. When we sit down with an artist that we're going to work with, we say, what's the project? And we agree on a price for the project, and then we don't really worry about the time. It's got to be reasonable, but like there's no clocks in here. Most studios will have a clock, and they say, all right, 5 minutes till, start packing it up. And we didn't want to do that because it stifles creativity. It's the worst. And sometimes we get people that have kids and they can't come until after school. So if they book a day, they can't even show up to the last couple hours of the day. So we'll do something like, look, here's a flat rate for the project. Come in for a couple hours, a few days a week for the next couple weeks, and we'll get this done. We're very flexible, but that's our first priority.
I think so.
Giving people that space,
and it works on both parts as well, because we've all got lives. We've all got the pressures of, like, so me having a newly born baby and things like that. Whereas before that happened, I'd quite happily be like, let's keep going. Where now, you know, we'll get to a time and, you know, the session's wrapping up, but people want to maybe try other things out. With that, doing the project thing, it's totally fine because everyone knows that it's fine. We'll pop in tomorrow. We'll pop in next week.
Yeah.
And it's way better. It's way better because I tell you what, you'll spend more time fixing an issue than you do just by having someone come in and redo something.
And hopefully your results, obviously.
I like to think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you're giving it that time, you're giving that attention, and not just hurrying them out. The last 10 minutes are not just hurried along to get.
No, exactly, and I think people do realise that we do put in 110%, and we really do. Whether that's Keith running out and he'll just go and get a load of pizzas, or treat everybody to this, that, and the other, or you know, it's me ringing up. I'm working with that band Youth Illusion. You know, I just wasn't happy with the guitars. They weren't quite sick. So I ring him up. He comes down for 2 days. You know, but the end result is going to be great. You know, because the worst thing I'd ever want somebody to do, and it could be the same with your podcasting or whatever, is here's your CD, and they go, don't listen to track 3. That one's not too. You know, you've got from the start to the finish, you've got to be an ambassador for that. And yeah, it's all killer, no filler, you know. 100%. Yeah. I'm just going to just put the fact that this might cut out.
Cool. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Can you tell, and this one's I really find fascinating, can you tell listeners something that you are currently struggling with? If not right this second, like have done recently in the past. Reason I ask this question is because lots of people think it's all hunky-dory when you start a business and you go straight into having loads of customers and everything just works, and it doesn't necessarily do that. And finding out a different struggle from different areas that people I've interviewed, I find quite interesting that there are actually lots of similarities even though they're in different industries.
Sure, I got one straight off the bat.
Yeah.
So we're kind of taking the Kevin Costner Field of Dreams approach, where if we build it, they will come. And that has been a bit of a struggle because we've got the largest guitar collection of any studio in the country. You know, we've got over 200 top tier guitars. We've got all the amps, all of the very best outboard and microphones that you could. Abbey Road doesn't even have a lot of this stuff. That being said, we can go take pictures of it and put it up on YouTube and put it up on Instagram and all the social media and stuff, and sit back, and the artists don't come flooding in. You know, if once they're here, they're like, oh my God, this is like Disneyland for us. But it is, I mean, we've gone out to medium profile artists where we're trying to get ourselves known and elevate the studio by the best way I can think of is either breaking a band that goes huge or working with one that already is. And then once you've got some work attributed to that, well, now everybody wants to come hop on the bandwagon and go along for the ride. Well, we've reached out to a lot of these people. We've offered to work for free. You know, James,
classic. You
know, come on in, A-list band. We will do it for free. Bring your producer in. Bring whatever. We'll put you up. You can stay here. Food. Everything's on the house. You want to fly in? We'll pick you up at the airport. But we want to scratch each other's backs here, and you can't even get them to respond. And there's even local artists here that we've offered to do stuff for free and can't even get them to respond, which was a bit shocking to me because, you know, in general here, we're a grand a track. So I don't know how many times you get a message where someone's like, hey, here's a grand, you know, who doesn't respond to that?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't respond to it. So it is really, really tough work, and you can't get discouraged by that. Everything's a no until you get a yes. And once you have that yes,
agree.
You know,
the podcast is an example for me.
Yeah.
I've probably reached out to maybe 100 and maybe 200 people.
Yeah, come do a free video interview. I'll set up the mic to do all of this stuff. I'll drive to you. My own gas money.
Yeah. And then it's just and it's not even it's actually not the no's that I'm that you know are discouraging, if you like. It's the non-replies.
Yeah.
'Cause it's just like, I wrote to a blogger, they said no, they like, doesn't really fit with what I'm doing, and I'm not really on that path with my business, but thanks and good luck. Absolutely acceptable reply. Not replying is sometimes a bit more harder to accept.
Yeah, it's a constant hustle.
Yeah,
you know. And interestingly, I was chatting to my buddy, funny enough, Abbey Road, and he was talking about studios and business, and a bit like yourself, is you always rose tint everything, you know. Yeah, are we busy? Yeah, of course we are. We've got good acts coming through. Can you be busier? Of course you can be busier, you know. And there's only a finite amount of people that are absolutely chocker. But as he said to me, which was quite reassuring, is he's like, you know, you take these top guys that are doing all the top rock acts, and they're advertising their courses. They're like, you know, video courses. And he said, he's like, if you're super busy, you're not making video courses. So when you see through that, you're like, actually, everybody's hustling at the moment. Yeah. And maybe sometimes bands, I know bands are used to being totally sodded about by promoters, and you know, everyone's told from, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Maybe, but it's tough. And as you said, like, you know, you do want a response, and if you get a response and bands like, oh, do you know what, we're doing this at the moment, we're happy on our path, and blah, 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 that's kind of cool. But you know, as Keith said, you said, when you don't get a reply back, you kind of like, well, that's just a bit weird, you know. And it's fine if people go to other places or they do other things, you know. But I think everybody like yourself, a band, because we're all in the same place, we're all trying to get to that level, aren't we? That level of where people go, that's who I want to be with. You know, Joe Rogan was, or, you know, this saying, I want to be on his podcast, or I want to be at that studio, I want to be that band and book that band. And everyone's in this rat race to be there. And I think, you know, the only way to do it is just to keep just soldiering on, and, you know, keep on going.
It's kind of got to be a bit relentless with it. Yeah. Even in the days where it is disheartening. Okay, you've talked about advertising slightly, you touched on it. How do you advertise, but also what do you think has been your most successful form of advertising to date?
Word of mouth is the most successful. Social media, we have never paid a penny for advertising, and won't do it. I think organic is the best, and a good idea sells itself. How many Ferrari commercials have you seen? Zero. You know, they don't need to advertise. So social media has been great. I would say Instagram's brought us in quite a bit of work. We've got a tremendously talented, actually 13-year-old girl who's at the open mic finals this week performing at the O2, found us on Instagram. So that's been great. And then of course YouTube with our guitar collection is world famous. Like I said, a couple thousand people from all around the world every day viewing, commenting, liking. And so those people then come to Facebook and chat with us, and then come to Instagram and everything else. Right. So the social media
community kind of
is critical. And then we were talking to James Blunt's manager, and he was saying, you know, you got to have a website. You have to have a home base that you control, because at the end of the day, Facebook changes their algorithm. Of course, something goes out of style. You know, ever hear of MySpace? MySpace, right. You could go spend all this money building up and buying likes and buying followers. A lot of people do it. And then that goes away. So we have our website, which is tied into our guitar shop, which is tied into YouTube. So everything's pointing at everything. And that's it. The internet is an amazing thing. We're very lucky to live in this time.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, we'll be without it, that's for sure.
Do you have a practical tip for anyone who's starting out or who wants to get into your industry? So anybody who does end up listening to this that is into music and recording, and have you got something practical that they could be actually go and do? There's lots of and the reason I go for practical is it gives them a chance to actually put something into practice, rather than someone giving them something quite open-ended, a motivational quote, and it sticks with them but doesn't actually
I would say something very specific, because you can go around and look at all this equipment, and if you're 16 years old, you're a long ways away from owning any of it, because this is super expensive. So the best thing you can do is get an internship in a studio and get experience, but also start networking now. Like if you know you're going to be a producer, go on Facebook and make your producer artist page, you know, and start inviting all your friends to like that page, and start doing just do it. It's the Nike quote. It's absolutely true. Get out there and go join the Producers Guild or the Audio Engineers Guild. Go to their monthly events, go to their workshops. Everyone you meet there, pass them a business card, and you can't control, you know, the fact that you don't have $1 million worth of equipment. But what you can control is who you know, who likes you, who wants to work with you, your knowledge, your experience. You start building those blocks straight away now, and you don't stop. And it will happen, because if you do anything 8 hours a day, 5 days, 7 days a week, you're going to be a master at it after. You know, I like to say, well, anything you do for like 4 years, that's when you get your bachelor's degree in that thing. Maybe it's podcasting. All right, I've been doing this for 4 years. I want a bachelor's degree in podcasting. You're doing it for 8 years, you've got your PhD, you got your doctorate's degree in that. And it's very, very true. And the sooner you start and stop putting it off, whether you're a 15-year-old kid listening to this podcast, or whether you're 28 or you're 38, the sooner you start, the sooner you get to that doctorate's degree. Yeah. And once you have that, the world's your oyster, you know, and just don't stop and don't give up.
I think everything's the same, you know. I think with anything that you do, you just got to do it. I mean, everyone's got a laptop. Everyone's got, you know, to go out and buy a recorder, whether it's like this Zoom thing, which, you know, has got great little mic patterns on it.
What it needs to do.
You just got to do it, and you have to go out and. But my practical thing, which we never got told in university when I was at SAE and doing things like that, is they said to us, just go out and record everybody for free and la 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 la. Yeah. No, it doesn't matter how new you are. There has to be some sort of payment. Exchange. Whether there has to be an exchange, whether that's a fiver, whether that's a bit of equipment, whether that's, because as I said, you know, I was uncomfortable talking about money. Well, if you start, that's just as important, the negotiation stage. And if you go out and you record a band for a fiver, that's your rate, you're a fiver. Then the next time it's a tenner. And you can confidently say, I go out for this. Well, you know, and then £100, blah, 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 and then it goes up.
Of course, yeah.
But I think if I could go back to me when I first started out with my laptop and my little M-Box, it would have been like, no, you're not doing this for free. You're doing it for a tenner, or you're doing it for this. You're
building that negotiation skill, even if it is for
me, the music side of it, I've never thought of it as a practical thing that I've learned, because it's what I've always done. But definitely the business side of it and the money side of it, that's definitely something I think musicians and bands and whoever should be getting into now.
It's a good point.
You know, yeah, nobody's doing it for free.
I think that's both of your points, and they actually go together, because while you're networking and building that up and you're doing the odd bit of work maybe here and there, you're already starting to talk about money and doing that exchange. I think
go sell mobile phones on the weekend at the mall.
Yeah.
or cars. Yeah. Go work for a used car dealer.
Only a few more questions, but we're into the future now. So together or individually, what are you most excited about for the next 12 to 18 months?
Wow, yeah, it's just the progression. I mean, if you take the progression of how the company's going, it is only going up. So to see where we are, and I think that's quite an exciting thing, because Keith and I are not say tied to this one building, which gives us so much flexibility, because, you know, I would like to think in 12 years time we will have it, maybe another facility. I would like to have another room, and I'd definitely like to have an employee, somebody that's interning, running things. So for me, it's business progression. You know, and obviously working with great bands, but that's a given.
Of course,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the progression from March will be 2 years. You know, we started with 0 subscribers, 0 followers. Now we've got thousands of subscribers, thousands of followers, and thousands of unique people a day. I think on just from our guitar collection on one site, we show up in 600,000 searches a week.
Amazing.
On one site, you know, so, and this is all from zero. Less than 2 years ago. And the thing is that we are in this 7 days a week. When I go on holiday, my laptop comes with me. There are, when you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, there are no days off. There's no such thing as time off, days off, or holidays.
But when you love it, then that's the difference. When you get into doing something you love, you don't mind doing that.
For sure, right. You either need fantastic compensation that makes what you hate worth it, or you need to love it. And when you love it, it's not really work. Because if you were to take this all away from me and say, well, what would you be doing in your time off? Well, I'd still be running around buying guitars. I'd still be listening to music and wanting to be around recording and bands and supporting that 100%. So nothing would change. And I know for a fact nothing would change for you. No. So, yeah, that's it. That's the deal.
Have you got a most productive, most useful tool, piece of technology that is accessible for people? Obviously, we've talked about your vast equipment is amazing. That you would say, yeah, go and do that. It's really helped, and it doesn't have to be music related. It can be just
for me,
business.
Pro Tools or a DAW.
Yeah,
that's something
any
anybody can have on their laptop.
DAW. You know, you can get free ones. You can get Reaper. I mean, if you've got an Apple product like an iPhone or whatnot, you get GarageBand. And I've worked with an artist, and he did his whole album's pre-production on GarageBand. It was incredible. And
that's pretty wild. You know, on a tablet, on his phone.
If you're being creative, there's no limits, and there's nothing that can. As long as you can record it somehow, it's totally fine. I think, yeah, but knowing it, that's the other thing. You can own something, but then you just got to put the albums in. So yeah,
to learn it and get to know it. The same kind of anything else you want to add?
Pertaining to a recording studio, I would say absolutely. I was always guilty of thinking you have to have the best, most expensive gear because your heroes, you know, these huge bands you see touring the world, they have the best, most expensive gear. So that must have been what they needed to be at this level, and it's just not true, not the case. Don't get put off by that. Work on your personal performance and your personal skills. Take the resources you have, whether it's GarageBand, and just keep working that until you've maxed that out. And then what you do is, just because you don't have money or things, the quality of your performance will attract talent and will attract investment. And when people see that you're serious about what you do, well, then other serious people will gravitate towards you. So you can have one hell of an awesome demo for a song on your phone, just you singing into it. Maybe you're just a vocalist. Look at all of these viral videos where it's just a girl singing in a cheap microphone in front of her laptop, or just to her laptop's web camera. It got 10 million views. We just had a girl message us on Facebook. 10 million views singing a country song. And it's just her standing in her kitchen in her, you know, sweatpants. So you get 10 million views because you're good. People are going to notice that, and people are going to want to come work with you. So don't be put off by the gear and the equipment. Stuff. You know, the one thing you need is, I guess, the biggest thing is a webcam and something to record so that you can present yourself to the universe. That's all you need.
Okay, and that's kind of pretty much it. I've got one last question, which is, do you have a question for me? You can ask me, basically. I feel like I put you on quite on the spot. You don't really know what's coming. It's only fair to kind of let you have your own back a little bit. So if you have a question for me, then I'll try my best to answer it.
Okay, absolutely.
You don't get two questions though. I'm not sure I can take that.
You don't get two questions.
No, as in you don't.
So why don't you get? There's the question.
You can have it if you want.
I would say. I would say that a lot of questions I would have for you are kind of the ones you've been asking us, but we talked a little bit before this started. So I already kind of know the answer to a few. But the big one, I guess, is what do you want to do once after this podcast has its following? What do you want to take it and then do with it? Is there another level or something else you want to expand upon?
Okay, if we say big picture, let's say the podcast was fairly successful. Let's say it was getting a couple of thousand million, whatever you want to say, kind of downloads. I essentially would want to put, and I believe this is obviously going to be on record now, but I would essentially want to put my hand back in and lift somebody else up. So I would want to be, even though I might be able to get great guests in the county or in the country maybe, and I could have anyone, I would want to get somebody who I really believed in, who no one really knows, and have them on the podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
And have them and interview them, because then although people might have listened to this person because they have a following and they're famous or whatever that might be, the fact is they might go to episode 4 and it might be so-and-so that just lives down the road that's really trying to struggle and start out, but I really believe in them, and so I want to give them that platform to boost it. So essentially that's what I'd love to do with the podcast if it ever got to that stage.
I love it.
Yeah,
and it's
great.
not and that is not really anything to do with, again, Simply Create on my business. This is kind of something separate, but I think it's once you get to a certain level and not enough people, or visibly not enough people, because they probably do it.
You have to put back in.
Back in and try to pull those people and give them a lift up and help them out. And that's what I'd really love to do. But at the moment, I'm hoping other people will lend a hand to me and lift me up. So that's
absolutely, man. That's great.
Well, thank you very much both for your time. It's been absolutely great, and the studio here is amazing. So anybody who asks me, I'll be definitely pointing. Hopefully, people will listen to you. But most importantly, today you've given me your time, and it's much appreciated. So
that's fine. Thank you very much.
All right, man.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, man.
Cheers. And that's that.